that bill to the floor, I would urge him to do so. And I yield to my friend.
I would just say to the gentleman, we don't want a repeat of what's going on now with Obamacare. That bill, constructed as it is by the Senate, last-minute ditch effort to get it across the finish line. I think that there is a lot that could be done a lot better in that bill. And the gentleman, I believe, knows that as well. If he doesn't share my opinion, then we can agree to disagree on that.
Okay.
And I would just say again, let's be mindful, Madam Speaker, of what happens when you put together a bill like Obamacare and the real consequences to millions of Americans right now, scared that they're not going to even have health care insurance that they have today by come January 1. And there are plenty of reasons for that. The mishaps with the websites, the call centers, the stolen identities, all the things that don't seem to be working right now are scaring people out of even considering in a rational way what's going on, because how could they? There is no answers being given. And I would say the gentleman largely due to the unfortunate architecture of that bill, and some of which could be blamed on the process by which it was put together. We don't want to make that mistake again. And I would say to the gentleman, look forward to working with him in a deliberate, thoughtful approach, not bringing up the Senate bill, because we're not going to do that. I've said that to the gentleman. And hopefully we can work in a much more positive way. With that, I yield back.
In closing, Madam Speaker, let me simply observe that this is somewhat ironic, because the gentleman has repeatedly said he doesn't like the Senate bill. I hear that. He then says we need to consider a more thoughtful way of doing this. I get that. I have then pointed out that the committee, which is headed by Mr. Goodlatte, Republican leader of the Judiciary Committee, has passed a number of bills, presumably in that quest for a more thoughtful consideration to fix a broken system. The gentleman has not said he's going to bring any of those bills to the floor. So he knows what he's against, Madam Speaker. He knows what his party is against, Madam Speaker, but he cannot tell us what he's going to do to fix a broken system, because apparently the 4 bills that I have asked about are not being brought to the floor, are not part of the solution of which the gentleman speaks, and that's regrettable. And let me say in closing, Madam Speaker, I hope we can work in a bipartisan fashion. It didn't occur after the election, where the very issue was whether or not we ought to extend affordable health care to millions of people, some 30 to 40 to 50 million people who did not have health care security. And they continue to be scared. They continue to be presented with a message that this is a failed program, frankly, before it even starts. Now, it has started in terms of access. It doesn't start, as the gentleman knows, to January 1st. But for some people it has started. For some parents with children with a pre-existing condition who could not get insurance, it's working. For young people who couldn't find a job but needed insurance and were less than 26 years of age, they could stay on their parents' policy. It was working. For seniors who were confronted with a donut hole that put them deeply in debt for prescription drugs they needed for life saving and life quality in Manchester, it is working. It is working for those people who did not go bankrupt and won't go bankrupt in the future because there are not the limits that can be imposed upon them when they get really sick. So yes, we'll have a debate on that. But it ought not to simply divert us from all of the other issues that we need to deal with. The budget. We need to get this country on a fiscally sustainable path. I know the leader agrees on that. We need to fix a broken immigration system. I know the leader believes that as well. And we need to invest in growing our country. And get rid of the sequester, because the sequester is going to hurt our country. And frankly, I think the leader agrees on that. We may not agree on how to do it, but I think he agrees on the objective. So, Madam Speaker, on all of those, we ought to be giving our best efforts, not in a partisan way, but in a bipartisan way. as Americans, not as Democrats and Republicans. And I would yield back the balance of my time.
The gentleman yields back. For what purpose does the gentleman from Virginia seek recognition?
Madam Speaker, I ask unanimous consent that when the House adjourns today, it adjourn to meet on Monday next, when it shall convene at noon for morning hour debate and 2 p.m. for legislative business.
Objection so ordered. The chair will now entertain requests for 1-minute speeches. For what purpose does the gentleman from New York seek recognition?
Madam Speaker, to seek unanimous consent to address the House for 1 minute.
Without objection, the gentleman is recognized for 1 minute.
Thank you, Madam Speaker. Madam Speaker, I rise today to recognize the effort that we took today, this afternoon, in this chamber with the passage of You Can Keep Your Health Plan Act. This act honors a promise that the President made to all of America. You can keep your health care if you want it. And that's what we did today. I've been hearing, Madam Speaker, from constituents all over Western New York in my district. 2 in particular I spoke to yesterday. One from Ithaca, New York, who told me, after meeting with a navigator as a small business owner, trying to get health insurance because he received a cancellation notice that they were going to lose their insurance this January 1, decided to forego health insurance next year because of the costs associated with it. I talked to a young man from Bath, New York, who told me, my employer just notified me that my hours are going to be cut from 35 hours a week down to 25 hours, and he didn't receive health insurance from that individual, but yet was told it was because of Obamacare and the need to put him under a part-time status and lose those hours of work. Well, those hours of work are real dollars out of his pocket and his family's pocket. I applaud the bipartisan effort we did today. 39 Republicans Democrats joined us on this side to allow Americans to keep their health care. With that, I yield back, Madam Speaker.
For what purpose does the gentleman from New York seek recognition?
Ask unanimous consent that I address the House for 1 minute and revise and extend my remarks.
Without objection, the gentleman is recognized for 1 minute.
Madam Speaker, it is my pleasure to rise today to congratulate Nina Davallori on winning the 2014 Miss America competition and to proclaim our welcome to her back to Central New York for her homecoming celebration this weekend. I had the privilege of meeting Nina when she was Miss Syracuse, and I can tell you that she will be a different kind of Miss America. She graduated from Fayetteville Manlius High School and then went on to the University of Michigan, where she earned a degree in brain behavior and cognitive science. She was an exemplary student, and during her time in college made the dean's list and won several scholastic awards. She is also very involved in the community, and she is talented and driven and civic-minded, and she believes that empowering women around the world through education and opportunity, and that is what she has been doing as Miss America. She has also already broken down barriers and changed the face of the Miss America competition as the first Indian American woman to be crowned Miss America. Madam Speaker, I ask my colleagues in the House of Representatives to join me in congratulating Nina Davallori on her victory at the 2014 Miss America competition and wish her the best of success in all her future endeavors. I yield back the balance of my time.
For what purpose does the gentleman from Pennsylvania seek recognition?
Madam Speaker, request unanimous consent to address the House for 1 minute and revise and extend.
Without objection, the gentleman is recognized for 1 minute.
Madam Speaker, I rise today to voice the concerns of a small business in Pennsylvania's 5th Congressional District whose economic security is in jeopardy due to the Affordable Care Act. This is a story of a 6th-generation family-run business that has been marginally profitable over the years. The business has grown through tough times while staying committed to always providing health care insurance through policies that allow their employees the choice and the flexibility to have the doctor that they want. Since the ACA has taken effect, this business is now facing drastic increases in costs, which threatens their profitability, and in turn, this threatens jobs in our community. The President has offered the American public little assurance that he can save the plans that he originally said we could keep. The public doesn't need another press conference or PR fix. They need real solutions moving forward. Now, I commend my 39 Democratic colleagues on the other side of the aisle who joined us in passing the Keep Your Health Plan Act today. These members realize there needs to be accountability in government. The American people deserve as much. Thank you, Madam Speaker, and I yield back to balance my time.
For what purpose does the gentleman from Nevada seek recognition?
To address
Without objection, the gentleman is recognized for 1 minute.
Thank you, Madam Speaker. It is past time for this Congress to work together to improve the Affordable Care Act. This law can be improved, but it is also helping people throughout this country and in my home state of Nevada. One example that I would like to share with you today is that of Michelle, a constituent from Pahrump, Nevada. Michelle enrolled in a plan on the exchange that will save her $200 per month and allow her access to OB/GYN services closer to home. She called her enrollment in the program an overwhelmingly positive experience. Michelle is currently on a HIPAA-guaranteed plan that cost her $565 a month. If she gets sick and needs an urgent visit, mammogram, or other OB/GYN services, she has to drive to Las Vegas from Pahrump. After enrolling in the Affordable Care Act, she will save more than $200 a month and have access to local urgent visit and OB/GYN services in Pahrump. Madam Speaker, now is not the time to turn back the clock or leave constituents like Michelle behind. If Republicans are successful in defunding or even delaying the Affordable Care Act, Michelle will lack insurance. She will have to go back to the predatory plan that offered her no real coverage and cost even more. I ask my colleagues on the other side, let's work together to make the Affordable Care Act work for the American people.
For what purpose does the gentleman from Indiana seek recognition?
Madam Speaker, I ask unanimous consent to address the House for 1 minute and to revise and extend.
Without objection, the gentleman is recognized for 1 minute.
I thank the Speaker. Today I rise, and my friend from Indiana, today I rise in recognition of International 15Q Day. Now, what is International 15Q Day? It is a day to raise awareness of the similarities between Angelman, Prader-Willi, and chromosome 15q duplication syndromes. All three are genetic disorders originating in the 15th chromosome. My offices are supporting these efforts today to shine a light on those that suffer from these disorders. These disorders are so rare that they do not get the attention or dedication to research that many other diseases and disorders do. My son Teddy, now almost 6 years old, was diagnosed with Angelman syndrome in early 2010. Angelman significantly impairs his capacity for motor development and severely inhibits his intellectual development. And in addition to that, it is likely he will never speak. But through his challenges, he is such an inspiration to everyone he meets. We do not know what Teddy's ultimate impact on the world will be, but we know it and those of these other children will be great. My wife Kathy and I are so humbled by the support of our family and friends, including my staff, who in all of our offices today are wearing blue to recognize International 15Q Day for Teddy, his fellow angels, and all those affected by these disorders. Madam Speaker, I encourage all Americans to learn more about these disorders by visiting www.angelman.org. With that, I yield back.
Under the Speaker's announced policy of January 3, 2013, the gentleman from Texas, Mr. Gohmert, is recognized for 60 minutes as the designee of the Majority Leader.
Thank you, Madam Speaker. I won't take long, but I got this email from a constituent that on Tuesday of last week, my 89-year-old mother-in-law fell and broke her hip. Her doctor gave her only a 50% chance of survival. But survive she did. She stated after the operation that she was lucky that it happened, or he, the doctor, stated after the operation that she was lucky that it happened now because, quote, in 2 weeks I could not have performed the same procedure because it is not an approved procedure under the new rules. It's too expensive. We all wondered what her chances of survival would have been under Dr. Obama, and that's from Jay in my district. There are all kinds of terrible things that are happening as a result of the passage of Obamacare. I voted yes on the bill today. Apparently the Senate's not going to take it up. Just said if the insurance companies could allow them to continue on their policies without making it illegal, as Obamacare does, to keep those policies. We have numerous proposals Anybody that says Republicans don't have any solutions, we've got numerous solutions. I filed a bill that would have been a better, far better bill to Obamacare back before Obamacare passed. CBO wouldn't score it. They helped the Democrats all they could. But especially after the director was woodshedded at the White House. But there are many solutions, and one solution now would be to allow insurance policies that have been approved for this year by state commissioners, let them go on, like those that are on the federal, state, or local cafeteria plans for federal, state, or local workers. There are many things we can do to have a bridge to get us through the next year if we can just repeal Obamacare. It did not look like a possibility a few months ago, but as Americans are finding out more and more about the disaster of this government taking over everyone's health care, they're finding, gee, maybe it wouldn't be such a bad idea, as we had 30-plus Democrats in a bipartisan vote today express, gee, maybe we should have allowed people to keep their insurance if they wanted it. One article today from Fox News, Obama's insurance plan fixed, stirs confusion, ridicule at the state level, points out what a disaster. The president's even adding to the problems by unilaterally passing a new law, as he's done repeatedly. Normally it's reserved only to monarchs, kings, emperors, those kind of things, to step up and say, I'm changing the law, but he's done it with regard to immigration. He's done it with regard to Obamacare. He ignores parts of the law or laws he doesn't like, and that's also been done at the Department of Justice. Here's a headline, CNN, Obamacare enrollment numbers complete disaster, and we're finding that out. 26,000 or so signed up and bought insurance when they needed 500,000. Here's one from McClatchy, roiling health care waters, Obama's fix could make matters worse, by Anita Kumar and Leslie Clark. From the Weekly Standard, Daniel Halper, fairy tale continues as Obama proposes extra-legal Obamacare fix. It is unconstitutional. It is, and by the way, Madam Speaker, it seems like those who had the president for constitutional law are probably entitled to file a class action wanting their money back, because clearly the president's not familiar with the fact that the executive branch just can't announce or change laws as they wish without getting Congress's approval. Here's another, Obamacare architect could be the beginning of a death spiral, from today, by Daniel Halper. In fact, it quotes the architect of Obamacare being interviewed by Megyn Kelly. She asked him, is this the beginning of the so-called death spiral? And he said, quote, that could be the beginning of a death spiral, unquote, as people did not sign up for Obamacare like they needed to. And then one from Human Events, there is no fix for Obamacare. And Madam Speaker, I think that's the bottom line here. We have got to repeal Obamacare. People are already being dramatically adversely affected. It has changed the 40-hour work week. It has changed people's ability to have their own decisions about their own health care. We need to move, as Ben Carson suggested, toward health savings accounts, encouraging those, higher deductibles with cash to take care of the difference. There are all kinds of great solutions. Many of us have them. We just need to repeal Obamacare for the good of America. And it is deeply saddening to know that our government is not even warning people about going on Obamacare, that when they enter their personal information, it is subject to being stolen by identity thieves and may put them in great personal identity quandaries and difficulties legally. So I bring that up because somebody needs to warn people about the problems of registering with Obamacare website, even if they can get through. My hope and prayer is we'll do the right thing by America. We'll get back to acting within the Constitution. And friends like our leader who spoke moments ago, expressing profound ignorance of what's going on here on the floor, as he stated that we had Paul Ryan and many other Republicans voting for the government not to pay its bills. There's no Republican I know of that's voted that way. Apparently he has paid more attention to mainstream media that's misrepresented the truth than he has what's actually gone on here. No Republicans voted for America not to pay its bills. In fact, Republicans are the ones that voted repeatedly to compromise before the shutdown. But Harry Reid had it in his mind that if there were a shutdown, if he could refuse to compromise on anything, force a shutdown, then Americans would get misrepresentations as to what occurred. They would blame Republicans, and then they would get the majority back here in the House next year. But a funny thing happened on the way to that plan. Many people are starting to find out, wait a minute, Republicans compromised repeatedly. Harry Reid's the one that wouldn't bring a compromise to the floor, wouldn't even allow negotiations to occur with the conference committee. And then people are finding out why Republicans were so concerned about Obamacare, because it is a disaster. It is affecting people's ability to get the health care they need. It is so grossly unfair. It's putting people at risk. It's time to stop the figurative bleeding of America and repeal Obamacare. And with that, I yield back.
Gentleman yields back. Does the gentleman have a motion?
At this time, I would move that we do now hereby adjourn.
The question is on the motion to adjourn. Those in favor say aye. Those opposed, no. The ayes have it. The motion is adopted. Accordingly, the House stands adjourned until noon on Monday next for morning hour debate. Thank you, guys.
So that wraps up today's legislative session in the U.S. House. Lawmakers passed a bill allowing health insurers to offer plans through 2014 that don't meet requirements in the health care law. The measure also grandfathers current plans and allows for them to be sold to new buyers. Follow the House live here on C-SPAN when members return next week. Right now, back to the floor debate from earlier today on that health insurance bill.